one.
Hey, everybody, this is Amazing Fantasy Football. I am Josh, and over there is the Scrappy to my Scooby-Doo.
Chris.
And Chris he is. Chris, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing amazing. It's been a fun weekend of some drafts already, and but some calamity, I guess you could call it. I'm sure you'll get to that in a moment. But yeah. Looking forward to the show. Looking forward to doing some, I guess, one last mock, if you want to put it that way. Looking forward to giving some folks some of my opinions.
Ultimate mock.
There you go.
The Mockules.
And, yeah.
Count Mockula.
Other than that, I'm ready to get into regular season form next week. Let's put it that way.
Me too, dude. Me too.
Hammering down that format and see how it fits.
We're gonna get our anvils and our blacksmith's furnace and our like weird long tongue thingies and our hammers, and we're gonna really hammer out some regular fantasy season whatever's. I kind of lost where I was going with this.
Lineup advice, we'll call it that.
Right. Anyways, I'm doing okay, I guess, Chris.
The other thing I'd like to mention, besides checking to see how Josh is doing, is we had to kind of throw some of this together because real life got in the way. So I apologize. I don't have a sheet of news for us to run down, but I feel like there's at least a couple big ones.
Well, let me tell you how I'm doing first, Chris, and
okay.
You can do that. So, and you don't know most of the story, so I got bit by a dog the other day. My neighbor's dog, to be specific. I was out walking my dog. I went to talk to my neighbors. Let me do a little backstory, give you a little setting the stage, if you will. I live in an apartment, and my apartment and my neighbor's apartment are the only two in the building that have like walkout patios. Don't ask why, just whatever, setting the stage. Anyway, so, and my neighbor's kids love my dog because my dog is freaking awesome. She's adorable, and they love her. My neighbor just got a new dog, and she was literally just telling me, hey, after Nova, I think is the dog's name, after Nova gets some classes in her and some, a little bit of dog therapy, she was rescued from a real bad spot. Hopefully her and Dora can, play and be friends and whatever. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And as her kids come running out of the apartment, so does the dog. And the neighbor's dog
open, etc.
Yeah, because they came running out and they're like, Dora, as they do a lot, Dora's my dog's name. And so the dog came running out too, and they sniffed each other for a good 10 seconds or whatever, and all of a sudden, roar! Yeah, and the dog attacked Dora, and I got bit trying to separate the two. And so I was pulling my dog back. I gotta say one thing. Other than my dog literally being a bitch, my dog ain't no bitch. Because she was fighting back.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Oh. I'm very proud of her, but that happened Thursday night, which is the night that we stream. On top of that, my internet was down.
Yep, that was the other.
And I honestly didn't think I was going to have internet this weekend, so I was going to either do these drafts on my phone or go to a local watering hole and do it from there. I'm glad the internet's back. We're doing this show kind of last minute, thus the no thumbnail, no.
Yes, my apologies.
No news. It was.
I'm working on that right now. I think I got it here. If you guys want to hold on to your butts.
Hold on to your butts. What movie is that from, Chris?
Ghostbusters.
Incorrect. That is Jurassic Park. Samuel L. Jackson said that.
Dang it. It's kind of a stab. So I'm back about 5 to 6 days here on some notifications for news.
Living in the past.
Yes, right. Literally.
Let's start with the biggest one, I guess. I think so.
The trade?
Yep.
Yeah.
Trade.
Okay, let me troll back up. I'm sorry.
Trade.
No. What's the biggest one? The Marlon?
Trey Sermon. I think that's the biggest one.
Oh, okay.
What trade are you talking about?
There was a receiver. I think it was Mims or somebody.
I don't care.
Okay.
What about Trey Sermon?
Trey Sermon, cut and then signed by the Eagles, right? Yeah, claimed. So he's on the actual roster. He's not a practice squad guy. As far as
fluff piece alert.
Oh, with that?
Nick
Yeah.
Nick Sirianni came out and said that it's good to have an RB1 on our team finally, or something along those lines.
That's a little dismissive of old Miles Sanders, I suppose.
I'm kind of in this, but I'm a little worried about Miles Sanders, but
I wouldn't.
I probably should have bumped him down in my rankings more with this. I said it in our group chat for our Dynasty League that I think that Trey Sermon has the ability to be an NFL running back. I just like San Francisco is not the fit for him. He's too slow to be
in that
to really
zone.
To really be in a Kyle Shanahan kind of offense. It was odd when they drafted him. I know you were really high on him. I'm not going to rub the scent in your face, but
no,
I do think that, and I think the Eagles, and I think the Eagles with their, I think PFF rated them as their best offensive line so far this year. The guy can thrive in Philly, especially as a short yardage back. Third downs, third and shorts. First and goals, that sort of thing. Because Miles Sanders is apparently not that, right?
Yeah, and it's even pre Trey Sermon, that backfield was a little confusing. I think it's probably fair to say confusing for most people, including me. I don't think I ended up bumping down Sanders a ton, but I also think I had him, I don't know, in the right ballpark anyway.
He's pretty low for me.
Speaking of Sanders, he's practicing for the first time in 2+ weeks.
That's not good.
Yeah, that was 2 days ago.
I mean, he's a running back, so running backs don't typically need a ton of time for the offense to get acclimated, but they do need time. And I think that, something that we don't mention enough is that when guys miss preseason and all that, they're more likely to get hurt. Because their bodies aren't used to that daily grind, the pounding that is the NFL.
Did we do a show? Did we include Brian Robinson news last week, or is that too new? We did. Okay, thank you for refreshing my memory. I was not sure about that. We could, fluff piece, Galladay running with the stiffness of a mannequin. I just wanted to get that shot in there. Kenny Galladay, because
I didn't like him going to the Giants anyways, and I don't know, man. Prove us all wrong, Galladay, but you are so low in my ranks. It's almost like maybe I should have you a little bit higher, but.
Texans re-signed Royce Freeman and Chris Conley to the 53-man roster, so they probably dropped him and then brought him back immediately after they moved some folks to IR. That was the thing I don't think we verbalized last week, is that if you're on the IR when the season starts, you're on the IR for the entire season. If you're on the 53 and then get moved to IR, that's when it starts becoming the IR that we know it as nowadays, the minimum 4 weeks type of thing.
So if you are on the PUP list to start the season, you miss 4 weeks, and and there's a big and here, you cannot be practicing with the team.
Yep.
I found that out. I found this out like sometime this week. I was like, well, that makes sense for like your Chris Godwins and your Michael Gallups. That if you're hurt, then you can't practice. But if you're not practicing, you're also not getting reps in with the offense. Yep. And everything like that. You're not getting
not getting the installed game plan is probably the most important thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Or aren't.
So, what else you got, Chris? Real quick.
I guess this is kind of significant. 2 days ago, Russell Wilson reached a 5-year, $245 million contract extension. Moving on, Kenyon Drake was signed by the dropped by the where was he? Raiders, and picked up by the Ravens.
Bad news for Gus Edwards.
I mean, whatever. Josh Gordon. Didn't say he signed. Never mind. Tony looks better. Kadarius Toney, knee, leg, looks 100%.
He's got a knee in his leg.
Okay, I'll just stop there. As I mentioned, I said Mims. I'm sorry, I get these two confused. I think they're both Big 12 receivers. Jalen Reagor of the Eagles was traded to the Minnesota Vikings in exchange for a set of just a bunch of nothing, basically. Like a conditional 4th round pick. Yeah, exactly. I think Sony was he was dropped by who? The Rams?
Yep. No.
Somebody else. And then failed.
Well, he was dropped by the Rams back in March. He was signed by the Dolphins in like May, maybe.
I think before.
And then he was cut by the Dolphins and signed with the Chargers.
Thank you. One of them, I thought he also failed at physical for the Saints like 2 weeks ago.
No, okay. I don't think so.
I could have sworn that was him. Okay, well, you have it there, folks. Back in L.A.
Anyways. Back in
Chargers are
LA,
signing Sony Michel.
back in the same stadium.
After spinning last year. Okay, gotcha. Tyler Johnson was claimed off waivers by Texans. Oh, Mack. It's good to mention Marlon Mack was released, but he's back on their practice squad. Re-signed to the Texans practice squad. That was a little bit of a surprise. My God, I think
a little surprising, yes. How much love do you actually have for Dameon Pierce?
Probably a tad too much. Right before I gave you my rankings to share, I did move him back down like a whole round because I was like 2 rounds too high on him in terms of ADP, which is, hey, go get you guys. That's fine. But I was like, you know what? I don't need to reach that much. I got him in last night's draft. Pretty late, like 9th round.
You have him at 33 so far, and I have him at 30, and even then, I'm still like,
oh, RB. Okay,
yeah.
I think he's a great RB3 for your fantasy team. Obviously, I guess by my
I kind of feel like I don't know. Maybe I should have come through my rankings one more time, but that's okay. I did.
That sounds like you're still a tad higher than me. At least 3 RB spots. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Well,
overall, not by much.
And you'll get to see our sheet in a minute, folks.
Having said that, you can see my rankings if you join our Discord.
Oh, nice.
It is in the AFFB content channel, and it's right there. It's just a PDF. That's all it is. Just click it, open it up, use it for your your drafts or whatever. It's a little bit different than. It's pretty samey at the top, but then it goes off the rails a lot compared to like ADP and some other rankings, which are, I don't know. I feel like a lot of experts' rankings are more or less ADP anyways, and I'm just like, yawn. I'm like, do you really think that this is it, or are you just? Anyways, I'm sorry. I'm going.
You're fine. I was trying to finalize. Yeah, that's all the news I got, except for a lot of cuts. We're not going to go through every single of those cuts. I felt like
I don't think there was really like a ton that was super surprising.
Not in a redraft sense. That's
yeah,
fair.
Exactly.
The Cowboys cut both their backup quarterbacks, but again, it was like I said, they're massaging the roster.
But then they re-signed.
I don't think they actually have yet, but yes, they're going to. I thought
it was Cooper Rush to like the practice squad.
Yep, I think Rush is going to be. They got them both back on the practice squad.
We're not Cowboys podcast, so let's move along.
There you go. That's all I was saying. Cuts like that.
As much as you love, wish we were.
I felt like there were a lot of RB dart throws, rookies, drafted free agent rookies that we all kind of had a liking to, but that's more of a dynasty thing.
Maybe. I don't know. I saw some and I'm just like, I wasn't very inspired by any of the names that you were kind of alluding to. But that's just my personal opinion.
Again, a dynasty thing. A dynasty thing. Like when you have 30-man rosters, it's deep.
Oh, yeah. All right. You did say dart throw, I guess, so whatever.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
The definition of it. So, what we have here for you today, folks, let us know if you can see everything fine. We've zoomed in to 1,000,000 times Kelvin. Yeah, because that's the thing.
That's a form of temperature measurement, Chris.
For light.
And right? That's hotter than the sun, I believe.
Why it's so warm down here. Anyway, I've already thrown in Jonathan Taylor there. I think he's both of our number ones. We were more or less experimenting, make sure the spreadsheet work okay, and to me, it looks great. We've got 10 rounds deep, and that's going to be plenty. We're not trying to mess around with taking a 2-hour show or drafting kickers and defenses, quite honestly. So, yeah, onward and upward.
Chris, at my number 2 overall is Cooper Kupp.
You want to say anything about Taylor? Just open and shut case type of thing?
I thought about bumping someone else to number 1, like Justin Jefferson or Cooper Kupp. I felt too much of a contrarian move, really. I don't know how you can pass up Jonathan. Here's the thing that a lot of people have been saying about Jonathan Taylor. So I will say something about Jonathan Taylor, Chris. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are like, oh, he's never going to repeat as the overall RB1. No one's done that in yada, yada years. So I'm like, at the very top half of the first round in fantasy drafts, I want like a top 3 guy or a guy that's going to be like an RB1, but a high-end RB1 or a high-end wide receiver 1 or the tight end 1 or 2. I'm not necessarily selecting him to be the RB1. I just want a guy who I think is going to score a lot of points week in and week out. I'm going to be happy by taking him at the 101 week in and week out. Obviously, injuries, happen, so you can't predict that. So, Go ahead, Chris. Who's your 103?
My 103, by actually being my 102 is Austin Eckler.
Is that how we're going to do that? I thought we were just going to skip over the one you didn't pick, but okay. Go for it.
Well, we don't want to miss Eckler or whomever else gets skipped.
Oh, he's further down my list.
We'll
Anyways, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of RB heavy in regards to my rankings, and I mean that's the long and short of it.
I'm pretty heavy myself, Chris. Oh, you were talking about RBs,
right? So I think he's the I don't want to say clear-cut RB2. I wouldn't have a problem with Cook or McCaffrey there. If somebody wanted to argue as such, but he's my RB2. I just think he's having an amazing year on an amazing offense. And Kupp actually is my wide receiver too. I have Justin Jefferson.
I have absolutely no problem with that.
Yep. You were even mulling it at some point this go.
I did a draft. I don't remember what day it was. Last weekend, and I took Justin Jefferson as the first wide receiver off the board at the 105.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so my next pick is going to be Dalvin, and you know what? Actually, I'm going against my rankings here, and I'm going Joe Mixon because I really like Joe Mixon this season, and I was the more I was sitting here, I'm like, I wish I would have changed that. I really like Joe Mixon this season. He's on a good offense with a good quarterback, good weapons that can help stretch the field and therefore take defenses away from the line of scrimmage. But here's the thing, and here's what puts him over Dalvin Cook for me: offensive line improvement. On paper, the Bengals have drastically improved their offensive line compared to what it was last year. It's one of the reasons why the Bengals didn't win the Super Bowl is because their offensive line wasn't the greatest. So that's why I edged Joe Mixon over Dalvin Cook. I have the right to change mine at the last second. So, yeah.
Sounds good.
Face, Chris.
The spreadsheet updating online threw me off. I was like, where'd he go? Anyway, on to the next. Yeah, Justin Jefferson. The aforementioned is what I'm going to go with.
Mm-hmm.
I think offensive, or should I say head coach, who is an offensive-minded head coach, I think they're going to throw more than they have in the past. I think they want to save Cook. Although he's my RB2 or 3, he's going to have a great year also. I'm just thinking in terms of a team philosophy, you're going to see the ball be thrown around a little more. And, hey, he's arguably the best receiver in the NFL. Not much more needs to be said.
He certainly has been historically through his rookie and sophomore campaigns. So next up, I'm going to take Dalvin Cook because I kind of did a switcheroo with Joe Mixon and Dalvin Cook, but I still like Dalvin Cook a lot. The Vikings offensive line is a bit sus, but Kirk Cousins and Dalvin Cook have worked well behind a less than favorable offensive line in the past. It's not that it's terrible. It's just it has its problems. Dalvin Cook, he's been a beast. Yeah, he'll probably miss a couple of games, but that's okay. And Chris would say handcuff. I would say not. But as far as drafting, no.
As far
for
as
me,
Madison, you mean? As far as Madison?
Yeah. As far as drafting, no. For me, I'm not taking handcuffs. But after week 3, if Dalvin Cook's still healthy, I'm trying to get, and I'm a Cook manager, I'm trying to get Alexander Madison on my squad in case Cook does get injured. I'm just not drafting handcuffs right away. What's your next pick, Chris?
Christian McCaffrey. I think we can all agree, given health, again, arguably the best running back in the league. Top 2, top 3, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
Most of us play in some form of PPR. It's a no-brainer. The fact that he's going to slip to around here is kind of amazing, but we all know, again, as I said at the beginning of this,
he's been very injured.
Yes, it comes with the caveat of injury.
And their offensive line is really, really bad. Hopefully not, but it's been pretty bad. My next guy up is Stephon Diggs. The reason I have him over the likes of like Derrick Henry and Najee Harris is because those are the next 2 on my list, and Aaron Jones is not in my first round, weirdly, but I just think that with Josh Allen, who's going to be throwing a lot this year, it's got to be Stephon Diggs. I just think that's a really safe pick to make at 108. I don't think there's much of a gamble. Najee Harris is dealing with a bad quarterback, a bad offensive line in Pittsburgh. Derrick Henry's dealing with maybe the same in Tennessee as well. Plus, Derrick Henry is getting older too. He is not getting any younger. The tread on those tires are really starting to get worn. You saw it last year. I think Derrick Henry, the reason why I have him at like 8th overall, though, I was thinking about this the other day, is he's also a really safe pick, because I think even though he's not going to be putting up maybe 20 plus fantasy points like almost every week, I can see him still doing like 17, 18, and you're getting that kind of production in the first round out of a running back. That's not bad, you know.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. I'm up next. I actually have Derrick Henry out down at 12th overall. I have Najee at 9th, and that's actually after moving him down a tad because I'm a tad worried about statistical regression and whatnot. Steelers, despite having a bad offensive line, have been tops in terms of passing attempts. So they like to throw it a lot. But then again, that was because that offensive line. They had a veteran QB at the time, and Ben was trying to evolve his game to get the ball out quickly. It worked sometimes. It didn't work other times. So I just don't think Najee is going to get as many jump offs because I don't think they're going to be back to throw as much.
Yeah.
I mean, Henry for you then? Next
up is Henry for me, man. I just, like I said before, I think he's a pretty safe pick to, like, and you're sitting at the 110 right now, and you're staring at Derrick Henry. I mean, I'm probably, if this was a real mock draft, I would probably swing back around grab another running back in the second round as well, just because Derrick Henry scares me a little bit. But
yeah.
You know, what's your next pick?
You can't pass up the talent here.
I can't pass up history, man. Just like that solid production year in and year out, you know?
He's proven me wrong multiple times in his career. And the man's allowed to get hurt every once in a while at the toughest position in terms of injury. I'm a little higher on Aaron Jones than most. I had him at...
I don't mind it at all. I really
9th,
don't.
So here in our mock-up, he turns out 11th overall. I've beat this drum a couple times. Yeah, I know he's in not a contract year. He's in a year where he's going to become so expensive they might just let him go because of what they have behind him in A.J. Dillon. However, Jones is going to catch a ton of passes. I'm not saying he's going to line up at this wide receiver one and Watkins and Dubs and who's the Cobb are like not going to exist. I'm just saying I think they're going to supplement the offense through the short passing game, and I think he's your guy. I think he's arguably the best receiving back in the league, right next to a Christian McCaffrey. You know, top 2, top 3, whatever. That's my spiel about Aaron
Chris,
Jones.
What about like J.D. McKissick and Saquon?
We did this before.
I know. I'm just
like, it's all coming back to me. I see who you got next.
My next guy, according to my ranks, is Saquon Barkley, and I love it at the 112. Saquon, I think that the Giants hopefully have done something to fix their offensive line woes. I kind of wonder if their offensive line woes was bad due to coaching, because they've invested free agency money in it. They've invested high draft capital into their offensive line year in and year out. And you know what really worries me, Chris? Not to make this not about the Giants and Saquon, but 2 out of those 5 guys that were in the offensive line for the Giants last year are now in Arizona.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That scares me for Arizona.
It does.
But when I talk about the Cardinals,
I feel like he's got a clean bill of health. You know.
Yeah, I think that you you can say the best shape of his life, whatever, yada yada.
Right, it's best shape of his career season.
yeah. I mean,
it's best shape of his career.
Yeah, I love Saquon. I've loved the talent for years. Loved him coming out of college. I believe in a bounce back this year. Call me a water drinker of drinking the water of drinking the Kool-Aid of everyone else being all in on Saquon. I mean, if I'm into Derrick Henry and CMC because of health concerns, then I have to be with Saquon as well, right?
I agree. Getting him at the turn is pretty great. I expect the Dable, the new offensive coordinator, to help that offense. Yeah. So next, go ahead.
Are we going to snake it around and I pick again, or are we going to just kind of keep alternating?
I was going to keep alternating, but that's a good point.
Go for it. Then.
Okay.
Go for it.
We're different teams, 12 teams, and anyway, yeah, that would be to your point. Okay, so I have Jamar Chase next.
Nope.
Again, I
there.
I think Jamar is just a heck of a playmaker. Yeah, I clearly have Jefferson at 2, and I'm sorry, Jefferson at 1 and Cup at 2. Whoopsie. Oh, you fixed it for me. Thanks. But I think it's going to be an explosive offense. Yeah, they were a little run heavy through a big part of the, I guess, first half of the year. But once they kind of turned Chase loose downfield, you know, it really
Chase and Burrow too. I think Burrow was getting his knee healthy again as well.
Yep, he was banged up for sure. In fact, I think he missed 1 game. Anyway, it's not important.
I think that was due to COVID.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Or maybe a sprained ankle. I don't remember.
I don't either. But that chemistry, yeah, you just can't beat it, man. They're gonna have a nice year.
For show. Next up, I'm going Mark Andrews, who I actually have as my 112. So a bit of value there for Mark Andrews. I mean, he was tight end 1 last year. You know, if you were to say it's going to be Travis Kelce this year, I'm not going to argue with you. I don't care. Whatever. I'm done streaming tight ends if I can. If I can avoid it, I'm done with it. I'm tired of trying to hit the nail on the head and score 8 or 9 fantasy points. I want a guy who's going to score me points at the tight end position.
Absolutely. I've moved Andrews into my tight end 1. I had him at 12. Did you say 12 also? The 112?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, we're on par there. All right, next up, I'll have Devontae. I've been beating the Raiders drum, not too hard.
This is our first giant difference.
Oh, is it? Let me finish my spiel real quick.
That's fine.
It's an elite receiver. I think I heard a reference somebody on a show saying something along the lines of the fact that you're getting a player like Devontae at the 112, 111, 201, etc. is just amazing. Where there was, what was it, last year or year before, where he was like top 4, like on most people's boards. Like, it's crazy. Obviously, the reason behind that is a downgrade at quarterback. Let's address the elephant in the room. However, I think Carr's got some accuracy there to really shine, and I think he's actually been one of the better downfield throwers, despite a couple of seasons ago when it was like, that's all we thought he could do. And I think that had a lot to do with offensive coordinator and whatnot.
I'm going to contradict you here, and this is just my opinion versus yours. Hate to keep beating that offensive line drum, but the Raiders' offensive line is bad. Fair. And that you could argue, Chris, that should actually help Devontae Adams by being hyper-targeted short. You know, think of like 10, 15 targets a game, you know, that sort of thing. And if you wanted to argue that, fine. I'm not going to argue back with you. That's cool. I'm a little worried about this offense line. I think Derek Carr is going to get the snot beat out of him week in and week out. And that's why you have him as your wide receiver 5. I have him as my wide receiver 15. And that was only because I couldn't push him any lower.
Wow.
I got to that, and that's 33 overall. Like, yeah, I'm not in on Devontae Adams. I guess, you know, as with most people, it comes to a point where, you know, eventually you're like, well, this is a steal. I guess I'll take him here. But until then, no, I'm out on Adams. At his current ADP, no thank you. But you just take that pick, so here's my next guy.
Yep.
Mike Evans, guy, he's my wide receiver 5, and it's a lot about
one different. Yep.
It's a lot about safety. It's a real nice, safe pick, and safe picks are great to have in the first couple rounds. Mike Evans might be a little boring, but he'll be targeted by Tom Brady early and often. There was that one game a couple years ago where he had 2 catches for 2 touchdowns and 2 yards. You know, it was unreal. Like, he was still a top 24, or he was still like a top 15 wide receiver that week based on that. And I'm not saying that's going to happen every week, but he gets the yards. He's had 8 years in a row of 1,000 yards.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Yep.
I think it's 7 years.
Right. It feels
and at least 8 touchdowns, and I think most of those years too. So that's consistency right there, and I love him for it. And Chris, we have CeeDee Lamb at the exact same spot.
Yep. We haven't swapped in terms of receivers. I had Lamb just above Evans, and you had Evans above Lamb. That's who we're going with here. You know, it's going to be on one hand, it's a volume play because Cowboys throw a lot. They're supposed to be a good offense. There's a little bit of concern on the offensive line, But Lamb has less competition than Evans in terms of quality of receivers behind him in terms of target competition. Sure, you could put Schultz out there and say, well, maybe that offsets it. Whatever. We're not going to get into that till later. But that's why I've got CD slightly above Evans. But to be clear about the spiel on Evans, this is coming from two guys that were probably a little, I wouldn't say anti-Evans, but a little less high on Evans over the past couple of seasons. I don't know if it was both me and you, but I don't know if it was for the same reason, but both me and you were like, he's fine. He's just kind of boring. He's just kind of...
He's boring. Yeah, he is. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, so, but we've both risen on him over the past couple of seasons, and I think he's in a good spot here.
I think it also has to do with Chris Godwin is probably not going to start the first couple of weeks. And even if he does, he's just going to be a decoy out there, It's, yeah. My next pick is Alvin Kamara, where this is where we're going to start getting different, Chris. I think the Saints offensive line, they're missing one of the best tackles in all of football. That's Terron Armstead. But I just think that Alvin Kamara can do it, man. I've previously, I don't like what he did during the Super Bowl. But
Oh, right. Yeah.
Poop happens. That's better than, vastly better than Deshaun Watson. And it sounds like he's not going to be suspended at all this year. So with that sort of, news or insight into his legal troubles, I mean, Alvin Kamara, man, he's one of the greatest pass catching. Like, speaking of great pass catching running backs, Alvin Kamara, man. I mean, he's also electric on the ground in open space too. I just don't think, and I don't think that the corpse of Mark Ingram is really that much competition to him. Mark Ingram's just there because he's a stalwart in New Orleans. I'm not really all that worried about Mark Ingram at all. So, and I'm not really worried about anyone else behind Kamara at all. Name one running back behind Alvin Kamara, Chris. Exactly.
Tony Jefferson.
You made that up.
Anyways,
no, I didn't.
He's still there.
Next pick.
He's still there.
Next
Who
pick.
do I have next?
Next.
Falling down on the job here. I've got Javonte next.
Yeah, so another big difference in ours. 9 picks, so not.
I'm buying into
the
the offense, obviously taking a huge leap forward because of said quarterback upgrade. It wasn't said. Well, it's been said now. Russell Wilson. I'm not banking on an 80-20 split in favor of Javonte over Melvin Gordon, but I absolutely believe they're going to move to him as the 1A this season, and I expect a good pace from the offense, given that they're supposed to let Russ cook a bit. And I was really impressed with Javonte last year with more of a 50-50, right, split. Maybe Javonte separated himself a little bit.
60-40-ish.
Oh, did it end up being that? I suppose because Javonte separated himself a little bit towards the end of the season. So that's.
Oh no, that was in favor of Melvin Gordon, by the way.
No, it was not. 60% to Gordon, really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, then flip that for Javonte this year. What
Okay.
do you got next?
Nick Chubb, a guy who's not going to be doing 60% of the work. Unfortunately, doesn't get a lot of passing work, and that's why he's all the way down in the back half of round 2.
Okay, find Javonte on your rings.
I already deleted it.
Oh, you were doing that now. Okay, great, thanks. Debo's up next.
Nick Chubb. And by the way, Javonte Williams is RB15 for me, and that is actually the two sides of the same coin of what you were saying, Chris, is that you're like, it's going to be more of a high-powered offense with Russell Wilson and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, I think they're going to throw a lot more and not run the ball so much. And that was going to cut into Javonte Williams' workload along with Melvin Gordon. Hopefully, dude, I'm hoping the best for Javonte Williams. Don't get me wrong. But in the second round, I can't take that leap of faith, man. I'm just sorry. Call me a coward. I don't care. I can't do it, dude. I can't for Javonte Williams.
So why Chubb over? I mean, there's more than just Chubb over Javonte, clearly, but why Chubb over Javonte?
Talent. I know he's going to get at least. I'm not saying he's more talented, man. Yeah, he's a more talented runner at least.
I think they're very similar players in terms of talent. Please continue.
Oh, yeah, you're probably right. I just think he has more. And one of the other reasons too, I have Chubb lower, and I should than I did last year for sure, because I had Chubb in the first round last year.
That's where I'm going. It's the
quarterback
downgrade.
is. Is it a downgrade though? I mean, I don't know. Jacoby Brissett did not look good in the preseason.
Hey, you're talking.
I think he's more of a check down guy. That'll be Chubb. Who knows? So probably historically it hasn't been. the guy can catch the ball. He's never asked to do so because
Just
Kareem
never
Hunt's
throw it to
there.
him, yeah.
Kareem Hunt. There's also rumors that Kareem Hunt wants to be traded as well. Maybe he does. I don't know. I just like Nick Chubb in this. I like to call me the safe guy here, but I think Nick Chubb's a real nice safe running back in the second round. I mean, you have him at the end of the second, so we're not that far off on him.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
So,
yeah, I just wanted to push you on the literally the next guy that came up versus Javonte. I've got next another RB, I believe, DeAndre Swift. I think I'm a tad lower than consensus, like a couple few picks. Just health.
You're actually higher than I am.
Okay.
So,
just a little concerned
spots,
about
sorry.
health. I mean, I think there's folks taking him at the turn. To be quite frank.
Yikes.
Yeah. So again, health. It's still a bad team, for all intents and purposes. Yeah, we're high on them. We expect some production from the offense. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown, but let's be honest, it's been a struggle for Detroit on both sides of the ball. So I like him falling to this area and getting a value there for a guy that is just excellent.
I don't know if he's going to be falling that far to either one of us.
That's a good point.
But that's where we have him ranked, man. I mean, like, your rankings don't have to be ADP. Like,
yeah, and that's why I'm probably not going to end up.
I encourage it to not be ADP.
I love the player's skill, but I worry he's going to disappoint. I worry he's going to play 14 games, and in some of those games, he's going to be exit.
Here's the guy that I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm worried he'll exit in the games. In the 14 games he is starting and healthy, I'm worried will leave one or two of them with a hamstring. Or
potentially game scripted out.
He's one of those. He's one of those Ferraris, man. He's one of those highly strung Twitch-like athletes that's really good in space, but sometimes they just hamstring pulls or an ankle.
Yep. Soft tissue. Yep. My next guy is actually Deebo Samuel. I don't know, man. I like what he did last year. I think that there's a definite world where he can kind of come close to repeating it. If he does, he's way too low, but I think that risk is kind of built into his second round or low, like back half of the second round, in my rankings. I actually kind of wish I had him lower. If we were going to redo this, I'd probably bump him down into the third. I don't know who really I would bump him below. Like, I still like him better than Keenan Allen, but, and I've actually risen on Deontay Johnson. I know you have Deontay Johnson lower than I do, which is weird.
Really? We'll get to him in a minute. Yeah, we'll get to him a little bit.
Anyways, go ahead with your next. Deebo Samuel, I mean, he does it all. He runs the ball. He catches the ball. He can probably throw the ball, too.
I mean, practically, besides, I guess, the quarterback, the offense really runs through Deebo nowadays. It's not so much of a Kittle thing.
Yeah, and Brandon Ayuk was so just uninspiring at first last year. He came on towards the end of the season, but man, I don't know. Quarterback change. I
don't think there's enough volume to support Ayuk too. I think Deebo's going to get his, and I just don't think there's going to be enough volume, which is one of the reasons we'll get to my Kittle ranking later. Real quick before we move on, how do you want to approach deleting the dude on the other our list? What I think we should do, if I'm pulling from my list, which of course is what I'm doing, I cut my guy and then you delete him off yours, and then vice versa. Okay?
Whatever.
I messed up a couple. No, I haven't messed up. I want to know so I don't mess up. Did I not have him ready to go? Paste? No. Okay. Now we have problems.
Travis Kelce. It's the next guy on your list.
Okay, I thought I'd already pulled him. That's why I was hesitating. Travis Kelce. I mean, there's a lot of drafts. I'll just put it this way, where I'm willing to go tight end even before the 211. But I have Andrews as my... Did we already do Andrews? Is that why? Yes, 202. Yeah. My apologies. All right, so leaving the second round, I'm fine with this. We both have Andrews above Kelce. I just don't think you can beat that positional scarcity at this point in the draft. There's still a ton of good wide receivers to get a hold of. RB dead zone is around the corner, so to speak. I love taking the second best tight end here on an offense that's going to have to lean on him some, having lost Tyreek Hill.
Okay.
Who you got next?
T. Higgins. It's bold. I've seen some hot takes of T. Higgins finishing better than Jamar Chase, which is, frankly, could be really possible. But I don't see it happening outside of injury. I think Joe Burrow is he's got the gumption to and the talent to support two, high-end wide receivers. I mean, at this point, it's two wide receiver ones. That's pretty rare, but it's not impossible to do. Anyways, I in hindsight, maybe you should have Tiggins a little bit lower, but it was just kind of like I like him better. It was kind of one of those I like him better than like the next guy, which is my next wide receiver is Keenan Allen, a great guy, all around good dude. Chris's former lover, but I like Tiggins a lot more. I just think he's on the better offense, or he's on a very good offense with a very good quarterback. Maybe not a great quarterback yet to be seen. He's only been through what, 2 seasons? Joe Burrow?
Yeah. Sure.
And Tiggins has only been through like 3, so he's just getting rolling, dude.
I'm only 4 behind you. I'm at 28th overall. So.
Oh, Chris, look at who your next pick is. Weird.
Yeah. I've got Zeke here. It has a lot to do with the RB in front of his name. You need your decent share of RBs. Obviously, we've talked about multiple receivers. I guess you could even say a wide receiver heavy second round. Yeah, that's fair for both of us, I think. You got to get the guy that's going to get the work. I mean, I don't think there's anybody, unless they just believe he's going to get hurt and not play most of the season, he's going to get 250 touches. He just is. It'll be weighted a little more. It'll be more like 30 or 40 catches because. Although he can catch 50 or 60, obviously Pollard is there. Although, to push back against that, there are targets to go around. I mean, they've lost, I think it's somewhere around just under 200 targets with Cooper and whoever else that I can't remember right now. Oh, the guy that went to Miami. So, yeah, he's going to get the work. He's probably still going to get over 4 yards of carry. He was hurt last year. A little bit of concern about the left tackle getting hurt for all intents and purposes the entire season, but I think I did move him down because of that. A few picks. That's the Zeke spiel. Who you got next?
All right. Next up, Keenan Allen. Safety, man. He's the safety valve for Justin Herbert. He was for Phillip Rivers for a long time too. I mean, he runs great routes. He's got good hands. He doesn't score a plethora of touchdowns, but I think he's just a dude. If you went, say you drafted sorry, buddy, but I think Jamar Chase is a little bit more boom bust. If you got him in the first round and you got drafted a running back in the second, Keenan Allen's a nice safety guy to pair with a more hyperbolic player like Jamar Chase, potentially hyperbolic. Let's put it that way. What's your next one? Let's speed this up a little bit. We're 45 minutes in, and we're not even halfway through 5 rounds.
Yeah. Leonard Fournette, I'm a little bit lower on him than you. Similar to the Zeke.
That is not true. You have him higher than I do.
By how much?
Half a round, roughly.
Oh, wow. Okay. Similar to the Zeke pick, he plays running back on a good offensive team. He's going to get some looks through the passing game, although Fournette will probably get more targets and catches than Zeke. Hopefully gets opportunities in the red zone. He's the guy at the top of the depth chart, again, for a good offense. That's pretty much the spiel for Lenny. Who you got next?
Next up, David Montgomery. I went a little bit more wide receiver towards the beginning of my draft than you did, and therefore David Montgomery is my RB13. His situation around him scares me kind of a lot, but David Montgomery's been able to get it done with Mitch Trubisky, a hurt Allen Robinson, not the corpse of Jimmy Graham as their pass catchers. So I think that David Montgomery is a pretty safe play here. I'm not too worried about Khalil Herbert at all. Could he be a factor? Yeah. But David Montgomery is still a good running back to be grabbing in the third after 12 other guys go. So, he could easily be your RB3, depending on how you draft, or, even your RB2. If he's your RB1, you better be drafting another running back in the 4th and 5th round too. Just saying.
There you go. I've got Ty Hill at 305.
My next wide receiver, not my next player, but my next wide receiver. So
yeah,
go ahead.
I mean, as far as speed, he's a world beater. I mean, he opens up the offense. However, I mean, he wasn't, like a Cup or a Diggs or whatnot in Kansas City. It's just, scoring potential. Boom bust is a way to put it. And of course, he's been downgraded because Tua. But I still think this is a fine place to get him in the middle of the third.
For sure. Next up is J.K. Dobbins for me. I think that the Baltimore Ravens have improved their offensive line at least a little bit. Dobbins, I'm hoping, starts week 1. Obviously, if there's some more definitive news, if you are drafting tomorrow or Monday, hopefully there's some more definitive news on that. But it sounds like he's going to be starting week 1. Kenyon Drake was more to make sure, just in case Gus Edwards, who sounds like he's not going to be available for at least week 1. Didn't they put Gus Edwards on the PUP?
Yeah, people are concerned he may not play. I mean, I don't want to say at all right now, but some people are concerned about that. I'm not necessarily saying I'm one of them, but that backfield scares me. I think bringing in Kenyon Drake muddies the water.
Gus Edwards was put on the PUP.
Yeah, but so 4 weeks.
Yep. That I mean, to me, that actually helps Dobbins. And I mean, remember that he
assuming Dobbins plays week 1. Yeah, I was a little worried about Drake and a little worried about Dobbins' health.
Dobbins was a very good RB back, not last year, but the year before, in his rookie year.
2020 sounds right, yeah. I'm
very
a bit lower, but for the reasons I've already said. Let's move on. I've got another tight end here. My tight end 3, Kyle Pitts. Middle of the third round.
I have him a whole round later.
Middle of the third round, it might be a little aggressive, but I think he's going to, in reality, on the field, he's going to play more of a wide receiver position. And if I can put a wide receiver 1 in my tight end slot, why not? Going back to the positional scarcity we discussed with Kelsey and Andrews.
It's not that I hate Pitts. I hate everything around him.
Bad team.
From the top to the bottom. Anything that's not Pitts on that offense kind of scares the bejesus out of me. Yep. I do love Tyler Algier, but he's also so far down in my rankings. We'll definitely not talk to him.
It's
talk about him today.
Yeah.
Anyways, next up I have Deontay Johnson, the guy that Chris has somehow talked me into. It was kind of one of those things that I'm like, if you're going to hyper target a guy, I mean, he deserves to be in the third round. He comes with his problems: a bad offensive line, a bad quarterback. The drops. He's dropped the ball more than anyone else has in the last 2 years by a lot. And you can't say that some of them were bad throws, considering that some of them were right in the breadbasket, and the dude just straight up drops it. It's
for sure
ugly.
The eyeball test, a couple, at least a handful of those were egregious. Yeah.
If you were to say Pittman or DJ Moore or any of your next 4 wide receivers, or even mine over Deontay Johnson, yeah, sure, man, I don't care. Like, you can have everyone can have their own ranks, and if you don't agree with me, that's fine. At me, I don't care. I just there you go. That's my opinion. It's an opinion. It's not necessarily right or wrong.
I think you said it in the first couple sentences. Hyper targeted. He's done nothing but get a new contract from the Steelers. He's done nothing.
Not a great one, but
led in drops past 2 seasons. I don't have it in front of me, but he's probably led in targets too, if not top 2 or 3. He's that hyper targeted, and I don't think it's that he can't go downfield and make plays. I just don't think they asked him to with Ben's arm. Maybe that changes. Who do I have next here? I've got James Conner. Kind of on the flip side of, you've kind of lowered on Fournette and Conner a little bit while raising on the likes of Montgomery and Dobbins. It's kind of more of the same story. Arizona's going to be a good offense. I believe in the play caller. I believe in the quarterback. And even if the defense is kind of bad, maybe they'll have to throw more. Conner is going to be a benefactor of that. Goal line touches. I hope they spell him enough to keep him fresh, because that's obviously the thing you have to address with James Conner is his health has been.
Hey, Chris, do you remember what James Conner's catch rate was last year?
Of 80%.
100%.
There you go. How many bring in? 40 catches? 50?
That comes with caveat of catchable balls.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
He's always been serviceable in that area for sure. If not,
we're agreeing. We're spot on this one, Chris. Michael Pittman is my next guy, and he's also yours too. So
there you go.
Yeah, man, he was the Colts wide receiver 1 last year, and that was obviously because Paris Campbell yet again missed the entire or most of the season, and that was with who was their quarterback last year? Oh my God,
Wentz.
Carson Wentz. So, and that's one of the reasons why Terry McLaurin's actually higher than he probably should be in my ranks. But if Carson Wentz can make Michael Pittman, a team's the Colts wide receiver 1, a wide receiver 2 in fantasy. I mean, Matt Ryan's better than Carson Wentz. I think we can all agree on that. Carson Wentz he makes great plays, and then the next play he makes the worst play in the world.
He makes a Jameis type play. I'm just kidding. Of a couple years ago.
I think it's more Cam Newton than Jameis at this point.
Okay, a fluttering throw or what have you.
Yeah. Anyways, what's your next guy?
Deontay and Pittman kind of represent an area where I start getting to receivers that are in even more questionable situations. We already touched on Deontay's problems and Pittman's problem, but I think it just becomes even more so with the likes of a DJ Moore. Yeah, I mean, I think anything is an upgrade over Darnold, but I'm not the biggest believer.
Darnold, who was it before that?
Not Cam, right? Somebody else?
Cam was part of last year. Cam was terrible. PJ Walker wasn't much better. It was just...
Cam was just brought in as a Band-Aid, and so he could retire as a Panther. It was bad. It was bad. So anything's an upgrade from that. But DJ Moore, while not disappointing, I guess, over the past few seasons, I just worry about how much Mayfield can do for him and his fantasy prospects. Who do you have next?
DK Metcalf. You can argue with me till you're blue in the face, Chris. You will never, ever convince me different that DK Metcalf is physically one of the best receivers in the NFL. He's maybe not the greatest route runner, but that could change. Also, last year, I believe he was the wide receiver 8 in the 3 or 4 weeks that Geno Smith filled in for Russell Wilson. Geno Smith hyper-targeted DK Metcalf. So at the end of the third, I think we're potentially getting a steal here. I just can't ignore sometimes talent trumps situation, and the situation downfall would be Geno Smith / Drew Lock as their quarterback.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
And Geno Smith's supposed to start the season, so I mean, I was on the Drew Lock train thinking it was going to be Drew Lock, and then they pulled the rug out from under me, and it became Geno Smith.
Lock had a abysmal performance in his tryout.
Supposedly, I don't watch preseason.
Second or third preseason, I believe it was. But no, I don't hate it because again, this next 2, 3, 4 receivers are just kind of like there's question marks all over them. We already talked about DJ Moore. We just finished with Metcalf. I've got AJ Brown next. I just worry about how much the Eagles are going to be able to support a wide receiver 1 in fantasy in terms of they run a ton. So that's why AJ Brown's where he's at. Otherwise, talent wise, yeah, two previous old college teammates in DK Metcalf and AJ Brown that are just physical specimens of wide receivers in the NFL. But situation. Continue, please, sir. You're up next.
I think I left AJ Brown off my list, but I would have him even lower.
Okay. For the same reasons, I assume.
Yeah,
I think what he did in Tennessee was really hard to do. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think he can repeat it.
My next guy is my tight end 3. Tight end 4 on our list here is George Kittle. Everyone says, I've heard a lot of people say this, and they're absolutely right. When healthy, George Kittle is probably one of the best tight ends in all of football. That comes with a caveat of Pitts is really a wide receiver in tight end clothing. Kittle can do it all. He's good. He just he's hurt a lot, And he's like, remember Bob Sanders? Like, Bob Sanders balled out back when he was playing safety for the Colts.
Because of his
play style. But he was constantly hurting himself because of his play style.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kittle's very
similar. I think Kittle's doing something very similar. And maybe they need to use Kittle less, which I think is okay. I'm okay with, like, don't use him as blocking. Just mainly use him as receiving. Only use him as blocking if you really have to. I think the 49ers offensive line, some people have said it's going to not be as good as it was last year, and I feel like it's probably middle of the road.
Kittle is asked to block his fair share, but he's really good at it. That's one of the reasons why. But
right. I mean, blocking, and how much of that is straight blocking, or is it just a chip and run sort of thing?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Some people say he's good enough. He's an extension of the offensive line, but no, he's still really great. He's still really great. I mean, because of health and some doubt in Trey Lance is why I have him. I think an entire tight end spot lower than you. I think I have a different tight end coming up in a minute.
Chris, you went a little bit more bold than I did with our next guy, and that is
Sutton. I've started to separate him and Judy a tad.
I took the coward's road and I kind of clustered them and drove them both down because I have no idea what's going on here. And for that reason, I would rather have Brandon Cooks, Michael Thomas, I guess Terry McLaurin, definitely Adam Thielen over those two. And really, even if someone said Allen Robinson or Amon-Ra St. Brown, cool. I mean, I get into the point where I have to take a Broncos wide receiver at some point, right?
Yeah,
but I mean,
I pushed Judy down to wide receiver 27. Wide receiver 16 for Sutton for me. Obviously, that's taking a stand, and it's because he's more of the prototypical guy.
Yeah. I mean, Judy's wide receiver 25 for me, so it's not.
We're close.
But Sutton's 22, so I rode that fence hard.
You're right. Okay, you're up next.
Next up is my RB19. It is Travis Etienne.
All right.
I think all this James Robinson stuff is all smoke and mirrors. I don't think he was a very good running back to begin with. He was not and by not very good, I mean, I don't think he was a great to elite level running back. He was decent enough. I just don't think he was special. To combine that with an Achilles, and I'm just not worried about Robinson at all. No. Prove me wrong, James Robinson. I'm rooting for the guy.
So you see Etienne more of a feature back, a 70% plus type of guy?
Yeah, probably more like a 60-40, but a 60-40 back in round 4 is just fine. Whereas you're looking at you want a 60-40 back in round 2, and that's Javonte Williams. Not to call you out here, but...
Well, I don't think he'll be 60-40. Or if he is 60, he'll be much more efficient. Anyway, okay. Yeah, I mean, being in the Jags, that's one of the reasons why I have Etienne lower. A little bit more belief in Robinson, sure. My next guy is Terry McLaurin. We've already thrown his name out once or twice in terms of starting to flirt with that territory. As far as talent, I would put him above Sutton in a heartbeat. Heck, maybe even DJ Moore. More like along the lines of a Pittman and Metcalf. Pittman being a lot of speculation because younger guy. But, quarterback, team being ran poorly. I don't know what I just don't think I believe in the offense that much, but a volume play, McLaurin should get the ball thrown to him a lot. Who do you have
like next? I said with Pittman, I mean, Carson Wentz did it with Pittman. He could, and it was stinky doing it with Pittman. He was not very good, very inconsistent, let's put it that way, with the Colts last year. So it's not bad. My next guy is Brandon Cooks. He's a little boom bust. But he's every single year he's been in the NFL, he's ended. Where'd he go?
I'm sorry.
Every single year he's been in the NFL, 1,000 yards. That's with. Is he on 4? Team number 4 is it 3? I think it's team number 3. That was with the Saints and Drew Brees, Tom Brady and the Pats,
and the Rams,
and
right?
now he's done it with Davis Mills last year, / whoever else was starting. I don't know. Anyways,
he's been around, but
he's been around the block. But 8 or 9 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. Yeah. Yes, please, in the 4th round.
Yeah.
Like I said, a bit of boomer bust guy. He doesn't quite, he's not a high volume guy. He's more of a speed guy, but that's okay. You need those guys on your team too. Balance is what we were saying in our tips and tricks.
Zero competition for targets there. Next up, more of a kind of antithesis of McLaurin and Cooks. I've got Jalen Waddle, more of a sexy, more of a big play, more of a lot of fun to watch on Sunday, man. He's really good in that regard, but a little bit of apprehension about Tua, a little bit of apprehension about just the franchise in general.
Tyreek Hill being there.
Tyreek Hill, the elephant in the room, obviously. But yeah,
you have him at what? 40. I have him at 63.
Ooh, yeah, wow. I mean, again, Ty Hill is the reasoning behind that. Any doubt?
It's hard to believe that Tua, who has never supported 2 wide receiver twos at least, if not a wide receiver 1 and 2,
Mhm.
is going to support 2 this year. I just call me skeptical. That's why I buried him.
Next
up, my RB20, and that is Elijah Mitchell, running back for the 49ers.
Like it.
You know, he was not the most efficient running back last year, but he's plays for the 49ers, and everyone said this ad nauseum. When Kyle Shanahan picks a guy, he's that guy. He's the guy for that game. And last year, he was that guy. And they got rid of Raheem Mostert. They got rid of Jerick McKinnon. I think they did that last year, actually. But they got rid of Trey Sermon. You know, I mean, all they really have left is still Kyle Juszczyk, their fullback, which he's probably the best fullback in football.
Sure.
And what is it? Tyrion something Price.
Tyrion Davis Price.
Thank you.
Hyphen.
Thank you. I knew it started with a D. I just couldn't remember. That's it. I mean, like a starting running back for an NFL team in the 4th round who was pretty decent at times last year. Boom.
I love the value you get with Mitchell as your RB2. Love the value you can get with Mitchell. I've got next.
I wanted more as a RB3, but that's fine.
I ended up with him in a 12-team league as my RB2 for a lot of the reasons you named.
That's not bad.
In fact, I took Aaron Jones as my RB1. Dylan might have been on the board, and I didn't want to invest that much in handcuff that soon. No, I'm sorry, I did not get Jones. Let me back up. It's irrelevant. AJ Dillon, I did have above Mitchell, but I could go either way. High-powered offense. I think Dillon's going to get his fair share. Yes, I'm very high on Aaron Jones. Maybe that's contradictory, but I think there'll be enough to go around. And more importantly for Dillon, enough goal line opportunities. Although Jones has been really accomplished in the red zone in the past, but I think they can both eat here. You're going to see, less than savory numbers come from the receiving production and probably tight end too. So I'm not saying that the running backs are going to run out there from the receiver position. I'm just saying there's work to be had by both running backs. Who do you have next, Josh?
AJ Dillon is my RB23, and that's we're kind of in the territory of like
we're 4 apart.
Yeah, we're in the running back territory of
getting close. Yep. I see Jacobs and Hall and
Edmonds
coming up.
Speaking of which, Breece Hall.
Yeah, there you go.
Breece Hall scares me. Hall scares me because his quarterback situation for the first week or two probably going to be Joe Flacco, because Zach Wilson is currently injured he tore his meniscus, I believe. Regardless, I think it was a very small tear. Regardless, he's not going to play for the first couple of weeks. A lot of speculation that Michael Carter is going to be the starter. They did get rid of Tevin Coleman. Before they got rid of Tevin Coleman, I had Breece Hall probably 2 rounds later. The fact that he was failing to separate himself from the pack as far as talent in preseason was really still kind of gives me the willies a little bit, but I'm willing to take the risk in the 4th round, I guess.
4th round. There you go. I've got Mike Williams. Speaking about risk, for a refresher, folks, in this pick-by-pick mock, we got Keenan Allen at the 302. So did I snake the wrong way, didn't I? Yep, I sure did. My apologies, folks. In this round, I snaked the wrong way.
Certainly did.
So it's not quite a 2-round difference, but it's at the end of the 4th. Clearly, Mike Williams. Basically, you want a piece of the Chargers' vaunted offense. This is the chance to get it. This is a chance to get a touchdown scoring machine. However, as I just mentioned, boom bust. Gotta mention that with him. But I think you're getting a pretty decent deal at the end of the 4th there. On to the next. Who do you have next?
The next guy is Adam Thielen. This is my last year. This is my last year with Thielen. He's been so good. Kirk Cousins loves him in the red zone. He has been good all around when healthy. 4th round, I'm willing to take him, man. I'm definitely willing to take him in the 4th round. I mean, he's... I mean, I actually have him towards the beginning of the 4th round in my ranking, so I'm down with it.
It's ballsy, but I like his touchdown upside.
Touchdowns.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
We all love touchdowns, and that's where it is.
He was hobbled last year. Didn't even... dude, he was averaging 0.9 touchdowns through 10 or 11 games. Like, practically averaging a touchdown per. I understand he might fall back a little bit, but he'll probably also play more games, so he could still catch 10 or 11 or 12.
Yep. Next up,
which would technically have been the 4th 12. Wrap around. I don't know what I did.
Top of the fifth.
Top of the fifth. So did I not do it right? Anyway.
No, you didn't.
I got Josh Jacobs. He plays running back. He starts for the Raiders.
Does he?
Yeah, he does. He's the starter. I'm pretty sure still. I think talent-wise, he's not the greatest Alabama running back to come out ever, but
who is?
He's still got a lot to. That's a good question. I guess you'd have to give it to Derrick Henry right now.
Yeah, recently biased, sure.
Yeah. But I think he's going to get plenty of work. 200 touches probably is a fair shake for him. I don't love the guy, though, but he does play running back.
I have him. Where did I have him? At 57, my RB 25. Offensive line. Enough said.
Yep. RB 21 for me.
Then he's, yeah. And my next guy is Cortland Sutton, who you already took. So it's not my next guy. My bad.
It's fine.
My next guy is Allen Robinson. Last year, before he was injured, Robert Wood. Dang it, Chris.
Did I do it?
No, I did it.
It's like I'm trying so hard now not to mess
nope,
up again.
Nope. It was my bad.
They're all still getting the gist of it. It's fine.
Robert Woods was like wide receiver 15 before he got injured, and Allen Robinson is probably more talented than Robert Woods. So I just think that, Matt Stafford, he's going to have probably the best wide receiver duo of his career.
Van Jefferson's hurt too. It's worth mentioning.
Yeah, and are you in on Tutu Atwell, Chris? I'm not.
No, yeah. I mean, the conversation basically ends there. I just because of what Robinson has done in the past, I'm a little apprehensive. So, next, we've got Chase Edmonds. He plays running back. I'm going to stop making that excuse. I've clearly, with my opinion on Waddle, I mean, we probably won't get to my ranking of Tua because we're not going to go that deep in our quarterbacks.
Let's speed this up a little bit.
Late round quarterback guys. But basically, I think was brought in for a reason. He got the money. He's a good catcher of the football, and I expect the offense to take a step forward.
I saw him. Did I delete him already?
Maybe he's too deep for you. I don't know. Who do you have next?
My next guy is the guy that I love, and I've loved ever since preseason of last year. That is Amon-Ra St. Brown.
My guy.
Wide receiver 3 through the last 8 games of last year. The only reason he's not higher, I'm a little scared of all this DJ Chark stuff.
I'm one ahead, one wide receiver 23.
That and Hawkinson comes back healthy, at least as of right now. Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift are both capable pass catchers out of the backfield. They were at times missing last year during that stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible? I mean, that's my wide receiver 24. Is it possible he ends up as a wide receiver 1 this year? Absolutely. I mean, Jared Goff made Cooper Kupp a wide receiver 1 in the past. So until he got injured, and then he wasn't. But anyways, next up,
love it. Next up, we've got Dalton Schultz. He plays
love
tight end
it.
position, and he's good. You do love it? Okay, good. I expect. I mean, gosh, man, he could catch 100 balls. That's the end of the story, basically. He could literally catch 100 passes this year.
I mean, he was targeted 105 times last year, dude. Like,
yeah.
I think that's going to be easily bump up to 120 this year, especially Michael Gallup's probably going to be out for the first few games.
Should have mentioned that. Good point. Should have mentioned that. Good point.
And, C. Lamb can't catch all the balls, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. There's something about Tony Pollard that makes me just cringe that everyone's on him so much. I do like your ranking of him where you have him. He's not. I figured you would have had him a lot higher.
Oh,
I feel like it's pretty reasonable, and thank you for making it reasonable before I had to ghost dad you through the internet. Yeah.
Okay, who do you got next?
My next, and I don't love it, but it is Jerry Jeudy. I think Jerry Judy's got talent. Don't get me wrong, man. It's just, who's it going to be? I mean, Russ has definitely supported two top 24 wide receivers before with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf.
Yep.
Metcalf or Lockett was more boom. I guess they were both more boom bust. They never really ate in the same
game, same week,
the same meal, if you were, since Russ is cooking up. But yeah, man. I mean, Jerry Jeudy. I have a lot of confidence that he also has the health over Cortland Sutton too. But that's neither here nor there, I guess, as you like to say, Chris. So, what's your next guy? Let's finish this up pretty quick because we got to take a break and then we have a. I have 2 drafts to do simultaneously. So,
I guess a little boom bust. Gabriel Davis. I would love to have the wide receiver 2 in the Buffalo passing game. On to the next.
Okay, my next guy is Miles Sanders, and I don't like it.
Fair. I don't.
He's my wide receiver or my running back 22, and I mean
26 for me. Oops.
Yeah, I don't like it. I think Miles Sanders is a couple of steps above just a guy. I mean, very talented athlete and whatever, and yada yada. I just
Next up, man. I've got, speaking of RBs I don't absolutely love, Damian Harris. I did.
Ooh, guess what? I have Ramondre Stevenson above him.
Really? You made that flip.
Not
sure who I was talking about earlier, but I made a reference of putting a little more distance between a couple guys that were hard to decide upon from the same team. I still very much like Ramondre. I'll go look where I've got him in a second, but I expect some touchdowns from Harris. I know he'll probably regress, but he did lead the league, I'm pretty sure, last year.
You have him at RB 31 and 71st overall.
There you go.
I have him at RB 26 and 60th overall.
Call it a half round, maybe ish.
Yeah, well, almost a full.
Yep. Okay, that's it for Damian Harris. Touchdowns, and that's about it.
Touchdowns, pretty efficient on the ground. Here comes our first quarterback, Chris.
Oh yeah,
it's Josh Allen.
Okay.
It's Josh Allen because quarterbacks have to go at some point, and it got to the point where I was just like, I think I'd rather just have Josh Allen than these guys. I mean, Darnell Mooney, don't get me wrong. I love Mooney.
Horrible situation. Horrible.
I love him to the Mooney, if you will. But man, that offensive line, I don't know, man. Justin Fields, I hope he can overcome this, but the team did Mooney or nor Fields of any favors this offseason. So I mean, my next pick is actually in my rankings is actually another quarterback. So it's just like at some point,
once the floodgates open, it's like,
well, no, it's just at some point, the rubber meets the road, and it has to be, like I'm just like I'd rather have a quarterback here. I'd rather have Josh Allen.
Next up, I've got Darren Waller.
Waller pissed me off last year, and I buried him.
Yeah, health. Adams coming into town. Even you could even make the throw.
Definitely
throw Hunter Renfrow in there. I don't think Renfrow repeats, but he's still there. He's still a good player that deserves some targets. So clearly I've moved him down in terms of tight end, but also at the end of the 5th round here.
Guess what, Chris? We're ending with a quarterback, and that's Patrick Mahomes. I still believe in Mahomes.
He's your 2? Okay.
Yep, and I think that the Chiefs did some work on beefing up their offensive line. Not a lot, but enough to give me a little bit more confidence. I don't think there's much of a run game there, and I think they are going to, to quote someone else, it's just a really good phrase, and I think they're going to run through the air. Like I'm not inspired by any of their running backs. I don't care about Isaiah Pacheco. I'm sorry. In Dynasty, I do, but not in redraft. And even throughout the season, I don't think he's going to be that effective. I think with Juju and MVS and to a lesser extent McCole Hardman and Travis Kelce, and CH. I mean, he was a good pass catcher in college, out of the backfield at LSU.
Yep. It's
so
frustrating. Yeah.
I hope they kind of pivot more to that. I hope.
Mm-hmm. Some of the school thought is they're envisioning more of an intermediate passing game because of the roster, because of who's on the roster.
I love it. I think that's what they need to do. And MVS is probably the guy that's going to be able to take the top off of defense. And
it's not like I need to tell you have a QB2. Don't get it twisted, folks. Yes, Mahomes has a beautiful deep ball. It's effortless, but he can do it all. He's perfectly great in intermediate to short passing game.
Exactly. Except for that no-look pass. He needs to stop doing that. Anyways, that's been our top 5 rounds. It's been an hour and 15, man. Let's cut it off so we can take a little bit of a break before I have 2 drafts concurrently. And you have our Friends with Benefits League. Chris, what's your favorite fantasy league that you're in? Putting you on the spot here.
Probably Dynasty.
I figured you'd say that.
Yeah. It's not always the case, though, by any means. That was a good question. It's just because it's the longest lasting, because of the format, doesn't mean that it's necessarily always at the top list. I really want to have a better showing in the ZTT League, but it's hard to choose ZTT over the AFFB League.
What did you get in ZTT last year, Chris?
I don't know. I struggled at 500 forever. I didn't make the playoffs. I don't recall from there.
How'd you do in Friends of Benefits?
Really badly. Almost last. A handful of wins, if I remember correctly. 4 or 5. I don't know. It was bad. But I honestly forget. I could be wrong.
I believe I was in 4 leagues last year. I made the playoffs in all of them. And I made the championship in 2 of them. And I won that championship at 1 out of those 2 championships.
Yeah, I only made playoffs in the Dynasty League.
Chris, do you remember which league it was that I won the championship?
Last year? The one.
Yeah.
The one championship. So the show's over, folks.
All right. We've been AFFB, by the way.
It was an inaugural season in the Dynasty League that I've been
my
in
first
for 6 or 7 years.
No. My rookie year in Dynasty, not the inaugural year of the Dynasty League.
Isn't that the same thing?
Nah.
Oh, you're right. The league itself would be the inauguration.
It paints an inaccurate picture.
When the league started, that was the inauguration league. Anyway, your first time in Dynasty, my fantasy nemesis brought in, thinking you'll probably have to rebuild. Even after the draft, people were like, meh. Yeah, it was very frustrating.
Wrote me off, left me for dead. I came back with a vengeance.
He did.
To slay you all.
One of the reasons I hate James Conner. I'm kidding.
I think one thing we need to talk about with James Conner before we go is health. The guy has never played an entire season, and that's why he's in the 3rd round.
Yep.
For you and me, Yep.
So a lot of other running backs I'd rather have. And a lot of times I'm going RB early, leaving it alone for a little bit, and I'm picking RBs after Conner. I know they get scary, but my receivers look really good. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyways, we have been Amazing Fantasy Football. Chris, what can they do to support us?
You can like, share, and subscribe. Let us know how we're doing. Good, bad, intermediate. We'd love to know.
And you can follow me on Twitter at JoshAFFB.
Follow me at Twitter at AFFB Chris. At AFFB
you got it.
Chris.
You got it.
Yep. Hesitated for a second.
You did?
I don't have the script in front of me.
This show is coming out a little late due to what I was talking about at the very beginning and everything, and I really don't feel that great because of it. So hopefully I'm not running a fever because then I have to go back to the ER. Yay!
But we wanted to get this out for you folks, get our opinion, help you in your drafts this weekend. If you haven't already drafted, we'll be more on the ball during the regular season. Thank you very much.
Cool. Adios. Everyone.